Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving into a truly fascinating and incredibly high-stakes conflict today. It's something I know you've been watching closely. That's the evolving, often pretty contentious relationship between, well, two massive industries, AI and news publishing.
Yeah, it's a big one.
And our specific focus for this deep dive is how tech giants, especially Google, are navigating these complex waters, using news content for their AI tools.
Which are getting more powerful all the time.
Exactly. So our mission here is to explore the high stakes for journalism, the really intricate legal battles that are unfolding, like right now, and the tough choices facing publishers. We've gone deep into recent news reports, industry analyses, all that stuff, to bring you the core of this story as it develops.
And what's fascinating here is the core tension, isn't it? It's really shaking up the digital world. On one side, you've got these AI companies just hungry for data, huge amounts of data to train their models. On the other side, news publishers. Many of them, honestly, are fighting for survival. They're demanding, fair compensation for their content, which is incredibly valuable.
Right. It's not just abstract either.
No, exactly. This isn't some theoretical debate happening in a vacuum. It's directly impacting how you, the listener, get your news, how stories are presented, and maybe crucially, how quality journalism can actually survive this. And Google's reported pilot project, that's a really key development we need to watch.
It really is a drama unfolding in real time.
Oh.
And the headlines, they definitely reflect that drama. Publishers are reporting, well, what sounds like plummeting traffic. They're pointing the finger directly at AI tools, ChatGPT, Google's AI overviews, Gemini, things like that.
Yeah, the impact is becoming clearer.
I mean, seriously, the headlines scream urgency. The Wall Street Journal called it AI Armageddon for online news. And The Economist.
Yeah.
Even more stark. They had that illustration, remember? The gravestone saying AI is killing the web.
Wow. Stark is the word.
So when we hear plummeting traffic, AI is killing the web. What does that actually mean for a publisher day to day? Why is this happening?
Well, the fundamental shift, the big change, is how information is delivered. These AI models, they serve up answers directly on the search page or, in their own chat windows.
Instead of sending you to the source.
Precisely. Historically, you'd search, you'd click a link, you'd land on the publisher's site, maybe see their ads, maybe subscribe, discover other stuff. Now, the AI often just gives you the summary, the answer, so that need to click out, it's drastically reduced.
Okay.
And that cuts off a vital pipeline. For reader engagement, sure, but critically, for revenue. Advertising revenue, subscription potential, it all takes a hit. It's almost like a digital gold rush analogy works here. The AI companies are the prospectors digging everywhere.
And the publishers.
They're the ones sitting on the gold mine, trying to figure out, do we charge for the shovels? Do we try and fence off the land? Or do we just, let them dig?
That's a great analogy. It really gets to that central dilemma, doesn't it? This core question facing the publishing world. Fight or join? Do they fight the AI companies over using their content, or do they try to join them through licensing deals? It feels like an impossible spot.
It really does.
Does this feel different from, say, the shift to mobile or other big web changes we've seen? Is this genuinely existential?
I think this does feel different. We've seen those other shifts, print to web, desktop to mobile, huge disruptions, no doubt. But this changes the fundamental consumption model, how people actually get and interact with the information itself.
Okay.
These AI bots, they're designed, as we know, to scrape basically everything, every corner of the internet for training data. That's what feeds the large language models, the LLMs.
That was a great thing.
And publishers, authors too, are crying foul. They're accusing these companies of massive copyright infringement, using their work without permission, without paying for it.
We've seen the lawsuits.
Exactly. The New York Times has that major lawsuit against OpenAI and Microsoft. Their argument is basically, you're using our journalism to build a product that competes directly with us. And Mashable's parent company, Ziff Davis, they're also suing OpenAI on similar grounds.
But the tech companies have a defense, right? They talk about fair use.
They do. That's their main shield. They claim their use of scraped content is protected under the fair use doctrine in copyright law.
But you mentioned fair use. How does that hold up when the scale is just so massive? We're talking about AI ingesting, like everything. Does that change the traditional idea of fair use, especially if it directly hurts the publisher's business, makes the legal side even messier?
Absolutely. That's precisely the crux of the legal fight. Fair use traditionally allowed for, limited uses, critique, parody, education. But the scale here, billions of data points, entire libraries worth of content being ingested for training, that really pushes the boundaries of that definition. It's uncharted territory, legally speaking.
So the outcomes are unpredictable.
Very much so. And we're seeing mixed results already, which highlights the complexity. Anthropic and Meta, for instance, they recently won some fair use cases brought by authors. That's significant. But on the other hand, there was a pre-publication report from the U.S. Copyright Office that seemed to lean towards favoring copyright holders when it comes to AI training data. So yeah, it's a complex, evolving legal mess. The results of these big cases, like the Times lawsuit, will set huge precedents.
Okay, so that's the fight side. But here's where it gets really interesting. The join side. While some are battling in court, others are taking the opposite route. They're actually agreeing to license their content to the AI companies. What's the thinking there? Is this seen as a genuinely viable path, or maybe just making the best of a bad situation?
It's probably a bit of both, to be honest. For many, it's pragmatic. AI isn't going away, right?
Right.
So if you can't beat them, maybe find a way to get paid by them. Some see it as a potential new way for readers to discover their stories, even if it's through an AI summary first, maybe a new revenue stream, however uncertain.
And we're seeing deals being made.
Oh yeah, OpenAI has been quite active. They've struck licensing deals with some big names: Hearst, Condé Nast, Vox Media, The Atlantic, News Corp. And interestingly, it's reported that Perplexity, that's an AI search engine focusing more on direct answers with citations, they're actually second only to OpenAI in the number of publisher deals they've managed to broker.
Wow. Okay, so deals are happening. But what about the money? The terms usually aren't public, are they? But there are whispers. Reports suggest Dotdash Meredith might be getting around $16 million a year, but then others are apparently getting as little as like $1 million a year. That's a huge range.
It is a huge range.
What does that tell us about how this content is actually being valued in this new AI economy? Is it arbitrary?
That's a crucial point, and maybe the real aha moment here. It's not just if they fight or join, but look at those numbers, that disparity. It suggests a strategy from the AI companies, perhaps. They might be strategically de-risking things, paying just enough to the big players to avoid more lawsuits, to buy some peace.
Like just enough to keep them quiet.
Potentially. Paying what for these massive tech companies are relatively small sums. It secures a data stream, manages legal exposure, but it might leave smaller publishers, vital local news sources perhaps, totally vulnerable, without a clear path to any compensation. So it really highlights that this might not be about valuing the content fairly based on its, journalistic worth or cost to produce. It might be more about risk management for the AI side.
That's a critical insight, a really sobering one, actually. So publishers are navigating this fight-or-join minefield, which brings us back to Google, a giant in search, massive AI ambitions. How are they playing this game? They're reportedly gearing up for this pilot project, about 20 national news outlets licensing content specifically for Google's AI tools.
Right, and this isn't totally out of the blue for them.
No, they already have that deal with the Associated Press, the AP, right, for real time, and it's for Gemini.
Yeah.
And they made that big $60 million licensing deal with Reddit, which caused a stir. But this reported pilot with news outlets feels like a notable expansion, a bigger step into licensing news directly.
Definitely. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, Google's moves here are incredibly significant. They hold so much power. A Google spokesperson basically said, we're exploring and experimenting with partnerships, but no details right now. That was the official line.
Sounds like standard corporate speak.
Pretty much. And on their AI site, they talk about engaging with the ecosystem to explore new types of partnership and value exchange models. It sounds collaborative, but let's be real. Google holds most of the cards here. They could have a huge defining influence on the future of online publishing.
How so? What's the ultimate leverage they have?
Well, think about it. Google Search, and now their AI tools built on it, that's the main gateway to information online for billions of people. So this isn't just about licensing money. It's fundamentally about control over information flow, how everyone discovers and consumes knowledge online.
Right. The insight here is pretty profound then. Google's decisions shape the whole landscape. Not just what content they license, but the very structure of how information gets presented in this AI-driven search world. They control the digital storefront, essentially. So they get to decide what kind of journalism gets seen and maybe what kind can even survive financially.
Exactly. It's control over information flow, and potentially it shapes the type of journalism that remains viable. It might push news organizations further away from click-based models, maybe towards deep investigative work AI can't easily replicate, or niche expertise. Or it pushes them into these licensing deals, maybe on terms that aren't ideal. It forces a fundamental rethink of their value proposition in a world where AI summarizes everything.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We've really unpacked this core tension, haven't we? Protecting creative work versus embracing new tech. Publishers are at a massive crossroads. Fight costly legal battles or sign deals with the very companies disrupting them, sometimes for unclear future returns. And the legal side, still very much up in the air. The outcomes of these lawsuits will be huge.
Yeah, it leaves us with a final thought, something for you to mull over. How might these licensing deals, or the lack of them for some publishers, how might that fundamentally change how quality journalism gets made, how it gets funded? And maybe most importantly, how does it change how you discover it, how you access it in a world increasingly powered by AI? Are we heading towards a future where news is mostly filtered and summarized by AI, where clicking through to the original source becomes less common? And what does that do to the depth, the nuance, the different perspectives you get in your daily information diet? What kind of information ecosystem do we actually want?